Mr. Shingai George for such an insightful presentation, executed so wonderfully. This is aviation and IT expert, Mr. Shingai George, from Insights Experts and Market Data, who is actually an insights expert and market data analyst from Forward Keys, Spain, breaking down the state of play of intra-Africa connectivity and opportunity for accelerating intra-Africa travel. And yes, he says if there are any more questions, please engage with him on his LinkedIn. As we move swiftly along to the next panel discussion, now this is another hard talk one on intra-Africa travel and tourism revolution. Basically now delving into revolutionizing intra-Africa travel through a purposeful Pan-African apex private sector body, an absolute prerequisite for improving connectivity in Africa. Now, to moderate this next session, I'd like to invite the Director of BDO South Africa, Ms. Leanne Back. Please make it to the stage and do enjoy your session.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call my esteemed panel to join me on the stage, please, as we talk about intra-Africa travel, which very much links into the presentation that we just had. It's about creating connectivity across Africa to drive travel by Africans within Africa. So, Ms. Winnie Muchanyuka, the CEO of Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, will you join us on the stage, please? Linda Mutesi, from Tourism Promotions Manager at the Rwanda Development Board, will you join us on stage, please? Monika Iuel, the Chief Destination Marketing Officer at Wesgro. And then finally, our thorn amongst the roses, or should we say our rose amongst the thorns? Pardon? The Y chromosome, yes. Dr. Iuel Mosinyi, who is the CEO of the Civil Aviation Authority of Botswana. Will you join us? Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. So before I pose questions to our panel, I'd just like to bring all of you up to speed who were not in the closed session that we had yesterday, where we actually discussed the formation of a Pan-African private sector tourism alliance, if you want to call it. So it's, as I mentioned, private sector initiative. And Kwach, Mr. Donkor mentioned it this morning in terms of this is the way we were going to move in terms of driving some of the connectivity that's needed across Africa. And yesterday we discussed the fact that there's proven research that shows that tourism becomes before trade. Tourism drives trade, which drives economic investment. So tourism is an underpinning requirement for economic activity in Africa. And we need to work together to create and to generate more travel across Africa. And it was decided that we needed to establish this Pan-African private sector body because we cannot wait for public sector to organize something like this, and we do believe that the tourism sector is private sector driven, and therefore it is important for the private sector to take this forward. And the key challenges that this private sector body would need to work on is about connecting countries together, but it was recognized that air access, visa access are very big challenges to chew, but that shouldn't stop this alliance from actually forming. So the initial focus was agreed it'll be on marketing. How do we get Africans to travel within Africa? How do we package and how do we market Africa to Africans? So today our panelists are most of all public sector representatives. So it'll be interesting to hear from them in terms of how they see the role of this Pan-African private sector initiative in driving tourism from an intra-Africa perspective. And I'm going to ask each of them, one by one, to introduce themselves their role that they play, or the organization plays, in driving tourism in their region or in Africa. And then I was going to ask them to tell us how they see the role of this private sector entity in driving tourism in Africa. So have you got
and Leanne, I'd like to quickly, for a few seconds, just interrupt before the introductions to just encourage our audience, both here with us physically as well as those virtually, to engage via the www.slido.com app, because that is where we're going to be taking questions for this particular session. So please send your questions through to that very interactive platform. Your questions or comments, please share them there. Thank you. You may continue, Leanne.
Okay, I'm going to start with Monika because you're sitting here. You can use this one.
Great. Thanks, Leanne, and hello everyone. My name is Monika Iuel. I'm the Chief Destination Marketing Officer at Wesgro, and Wesgro is the official tourism, trade and investment promotion agency for the Western Cape province in South Africa. Our role really is to attract as much visitation inside the province, as much economic activity within the province, and most importantly, create as much employment as possible within the province out of tourism. I look after both the leisure tourism sector as well as the business events side, so the convention bureau, as well as the leisure tourism effort, as well as lastly cruise. Cape Town also falls within the DMO at Wesgro. The point that I really want to make in terms of the value of an organized private sector on the continent was really a learning that we had coming through the pandemic, which is that government is actually pretty disorganized when it comes to leading in terms of policy. And oftentimes it is incumbent on the private sector to actually do the leading, particularly in those sorts of spaces. The